What's up, degenerates? It's halftime of TNF, and you know what that means. This is Over Underdogs, the show where we pick player props on Underdog Fantasies PickEm. If you want to play along with us, use promo code NONSENSE for a nice little bonus. As per usual, I'm your host, Mason Cameron, at PFF_Mace on Twitter. And with me, as always, my partner in crime, Vishaal Gupta, at Vishaal_Gupta95 on Twitter. V, how are you doing tonight? We're back at it. This game has been interesting to say the least, especially after that last interception just now and Treylon Burke's subsequent tiptoe down the sideline. I don't know what's going on. I don't even understand the Cowboys game plan anymore. How are you doing, though, tonight, V? We are hopefully going to make quite a bit of money to make up for the nonsense tonight.
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm glad we are almost done with Thursday night football for the year. It has been pretty awful all season long. I think the only good games came on Thanksgiving when the games were not on Amazon. So probably not a great investment on their part so far, but we'll try again next year, right?
The best part of Thursday night football was definitely us, buddy. For sure.
Yeah, for
100%.
sure.
Definitely.
I would agree.
And so we are back at it today. It's just the two of us tonight, V. So we have a special way we're going to be picking our locks tonight, but we will definitely be getting into that a little bit later. First and foremost, we're going to get out of the way our records. And we've been picking it up a little bit. At least you have. You picked it back up. We are still hitting right here. You hit another win with insurance this past week to give you 10 on the season. And for anybody that doesn't know, we use Underdogs PickEm Insurance on every single one of our cards. PickEm Insurance is a great new way to hedge your entry. When you turn insurance on, your potential payouts will be reduced slightly, but you can still win money even if you miss a pick. And that has been saving us every single week. You know, last year we kind of ran away with it. This year we've had some weird curveballs that have definitely thrown us for a loop. So we have definitely loved taking advantage of PickEm Insurance for sure. But anyway, this is actually going to be a really good week because I love all my picks this week. I've really had a nice beat on the games this week. I know that you've always got a really great beat, and we're going to dig into it right now with your card for the week, V.
All right, let's get started with David Montgomery, higher than 72.5 rushing and receiving yards. I really like this number because he has gone above 72.5 total yards in 4 of his last 5 games. And during that span, he is averaging 18 touches per game. A lot of that is due to Khalil Herbert being out and put on IR with an injury. Herbert did return last week, but he had very minimal touches. It seems like they're working him back in to the rotation, and he might not get back to his full volume that he was seeing earlier in the year, given that he's might not still be 100%. So it's full go Montgomery right now until we see otherwise for the last couple of weeks of the season. And Montgomery is getting all these touches because the Bears are kind of being ultra conservative right now on offense. They have a lot of injuries on the offensive line and at wide receiver. So you're not kind of seeing as much of the Justin Fields experiment that we saw earlier in the year where he was carrying the ball, 12, 15 times a game. They're being a little bit more conservative and handing the ball off a lot, which is good for Montgomery in this game. He's also going up against a Detroit defense that ranks in the bottom 5 in rushing yards per game allowed and rushing yards per attempt allowed. You just have to go back to last week and see how they got torched by Carolina. I mean, I can't believe the holes that were created for Carolina's running backs. It was insane. You almost thought you were watching the game on repeat, but it was separate plays then. They all had these, 5 to 10 yard holes that anybody could have ran through. So if they do the same thing again this week in Chicago, this should be an easy higher for David Montgomery. Sticking in the same game, I'm going to go higher than I got it at 74.5 receiving yards.
Of course, V.
Brown. I guess this one jumped up a little bit.
You know exactly how it goes, V. They have a plug on our DMs. There is a plant somewhere in our group chat, I swear. Anytime V sends me his picks, one of them immediately jumps like by quite a bit. And this one was it as well. V, I only got to it at 80.5. I would still love it at that, but you got it
Yeah.
even lower because you shop early and often. But again, tell us why you're taking Amon-Ra St. Brown higher than what was it again?
I got
70,
it 74.5 earlier
74
today.
and a half. That is just such a great number.
Yeah, I
So
love it at that number. He has gone above that 74.5 number 6 out of his last 7 games. Over his last 9 games, he's averaging more than 10 targets a game. He is just getting all the volume right now. This offense is really clicking despite what happened last week. That was more of a defensive issue for Detroit than an offensive issue. Now they're going up against Chicago defense that St. Brown torched earlier in the season. He got them for 119 yards in week 10, and that was with Jalen Johnson on the field. Johnson is out. He is the Bears' top corner. They have very little behind him and very little experience behind him. So this is going to be an easy week for St. Brown, and I think the entire Detroit passing game. You can take the Goff higher. You can take all the receivers higher. I think this is going to be a no problem game for Detroit's offense. And then finally, we're going to go back to the Garrett Wilson well. Have to do it with the return of Mike White. I'm going to go higher than 66.5 receiving yards for Garrett Wilson. He's gone above this number in 4 of his last 5 games, including one game with Zach Wilson. But now we're getting the GOAT back in Mike White, and he has a very favorable matchup against the Seattle defense that has really fallen apart the last few weeks. We highlighted it in our versus piece that we'll talk about more tomorrow. But I think Seattle's defense is just not playing as well as they were earlier in the season, and there's going to be plenty of opportunities for Garrett Wilson to take advantage. I love the connection between Wilson and Mike White, so I have to take the higher on this one.
V, I know that you're my friend, but you keep taking these shots at me. No, but for anybody that does not know and who has not seen, as V highlighted, this is one of the matchups that we highlighted in our NFL versus piece for this week. Definitely go check it out where we go head to head on the picks. That's going to be another really, really good one. And that's a great breakdown that can go either way. I'm stoked to see it because you know what? I'm a huge Mike White fan too. I just hope that, his ribs are okay because man,
Let's hope
he
so.
got
Let's hope so.
absolutely folded. And Pedrito, what is up, my friend? How are you doing tonight? Anybody who doesn't know, you can always get into our Discord just like our friend Pedrito, and that's how you get to ask us questions about all of our picks. You can bug us. We're happy to handicap any game that you want. And, even if you have some picks, we're happy to give our opinion on what you've got going on. So get into our Discord. And in order to do that, go to our Patreon. And that's how you get access to all that good stuff. And we love to see it. And now, on to my picks for the night, V. I really liked your picks. Garrett Wilson's made us a lot of money this year for sure. And we're going into some new territory. I have actually 3 picks that we have not quite highlighted so much. I mean, DJ Moore a little bit here. So we're going to start off with DJ Moore. And he is higher than 56.5 receiving yards. And I know I've jammed up Sam Darnold plenty since his return. I'm well aware, and he made me eat that crow a couple of times for sure. One of them being last week when he absolutely shut me up as I was sitting on my couch watching that game. Granted, some of it's warranted. I will defend myself a little bit. Some of it is warranted because his play hasn't been spectacular from a numbers standpoint. He's been serviceable, but his best trait by far has been feeding DJ Moore. And in his 4 games with Darnold under center, Moore has surpassed his projection in 3 games. So 75% of the time he is passing this projection. You love to see that because we have been waiting for somebody that will just feed DJ Moore above all else. And from a fantasy standpoint and from a betting standpoint, it's great to finally be able to rely on a talented player like DJ Moore. And I'm going to rely on him this week. And I know that they face the Tampa Bay defense. But this defense hasn't been spectacular either. They've allowed this projection to a wide receiver in each game of December. They also ranked 23rd in EPA per dropback. Trace McSorley managed to produce a pair of wide receivers to hit this mark against TB last week. I don't have a big, hesitation for it. I think that Carolina, they might not be the best team, but they're playing good enough. They're playing decent defense, and Sam Darnold isn't giving the ball away, and he's feeding their best player. There's not really a whole lot more you can ask for. Now, they're ultra conservative, so they're not going to blow the doors off of anything. But when Sam Darnold is throwing for 190 yards, DJ Moore is getting like 80% of the yardage. So you love to see things like that on teams where, he's not even like he's getting double digit targets every single week, but he's definitely making good on the 6, 7, 8 targets he's always seeing. I really love the hire here. The second one, I don't know how this number hit this low.
I was
Now,
looking at this one too.
it doesn't make much sense to me because Brock Purdy has finally realized that his best target is George Kittle. No offense to Christian McCaffrey or anybody else on that team, but his best target on that team is George Kittle. George has surpassed this projection in each of his last 2 games. Kittle is one of the toughest covers in the entire league. You can see it on tape every single week. He gets tons of separation. A lot of the times it just relies on the quarterback finding him. And I know that tight end yardage numbers are usually a bit skewed because not every team, not every defense faces a team that highlight the tight end particularly. So the Raiders kind of look to be middling against that position, but they did allow this projection last week to Pat Freiermuth, who led the Steelers in receiving. And I like George Kittle to do the same this week for San Francisco. The Raiders are packing it in, guys. Carr is now on the bench, and I know that they're talking about that's going to be to retain his health so he can be traded, but they've essentially sold on this season. I don't see them putting up much fight on a defense that hasn't put much fight up when the games did matter. It's going to be a tough draw for them this week, and I think George Kittle is just absolutely going to eat. The third pick on my list right here is Aaron Rodgers, higher than 237 and a half pass yards. And this isn't so much a pro Rodgers pick as it is a pick against the Vikings defense, as we've done a number of times this year. Rodgers has only surpassed this number in 5 games this season. That's a little bit crazy when you go to think about this guy won the last 2 MVPs and has kind of just really run into a rut. And a lot of that has to do with, their receiving core and their protection. But hey, at some point, you got to be able to put up the numbers on the board. But this secondary in Minnesota is just so bad. This number cannot be ignored. They have allowed at least 330 yards passing to 5 of the last 7 quarterbacks they've faced, including Daniel Jones, who had 334 last week.
Yeah, I think that's a career high for that guy, right?
That is just insane when you think about it's not just 300-yard games, it's 330-yard games.
Mm-hmm.
There are guys out there that are putting numbers up in bunches against this secondary. We continue to follow this secondary around and make money off of them, off of poor matchups and bad play calling. It's been a really tough go for them. I really feel for them. They're going to be in the playoffs and they're going to have a tough time with some of these teams that are going to pick them apart defensively, and they got to figure out something fast. And maybe it is against Rodgers this week, but I'm not going to put my money against it. This number is so low right now. I would take it before we get some word from the injury report. I know that they're looking at Christian Watson, seeing his status moving forward. I think our guy Ben Hunt said that he had a limited participation in practice this week. So if he's fully cleared, I expect that number to go up a little bit. So that's why I'm definitely going to get on it now. And I think it's kind of a shoo-in because Rodgers is still a really talented passer. And if his top target is healthy, I think this is an easy cover. So that is our picks individually. And usually we have a third here and we all take one. But we're going to go with a new way this weekend and maybe even next weekend, where V's going to make his lock pick. I am going to make my lock pick, and then we're going to combo together and see which one we like as our third. And it's going to be a doozy, and I can't wait to see it. So let's see. V, who are you taking for your lock this week?
Gotta go with Garrett Wilson just because of how well he's done for us over the past, the second half of the season. We've really hit him hard, and he's come through for us pretty much every week. Again, with Mike White back, he's definitely going to have a ton of targets. That's what always happens. I think with pretty much every game Mike White has started this season, Garrett Wilson has hit the higher on this one, and I don't see anything different going against the Seattle defense that is not quite as good as it was earlier.
Yep, we love to see it. Garrett, we're a big fan, buddy, and we'll definitely be seeing you on our year-end show. Have your people call our people, and we'll get that set up for sure. And I couldn't agree more, V. We got to love Garrett Wilson. Even though I'm on the lower in our NFL versus this week, that's still not an obscenely number that Garrett Wilson can't, triple. The guy
Right.
is that talented, and especially with Mike White. So, and on my end here, you know, I really love the George Kittle pick. I don't know how this number is this low. He doubled this number last week. I think he's going to double it again this week. If you can find alternate projections on this one at some of your books, that might be an interesting play, to sprinkle into a fairly easy San Francisco, cover or definitely money line. So that's going to be an interesting draw towards the week, and we will get into more of that tomorrow. But I am going to go ahead and lock up George Kittle higher than 51.5 receiving yards. So, V, I think I see one on your board that I'm really, really liking. But let's just say, is anything else on my board popping out to you that you think we have to lock up that we cannot let get away?
Well, you definitely hit the big one in Kittle. That one he definitely can't miss. He was right on the cusp of being on my card, just missed out by a spot or two. He gets so wide open, it's just crazy. I mean, I don't want to take too much away from Brock Purdy, but given how open George Kittle is every time, it's just so easy for him to
Yeah,
rack up these yards. Shanahan's a wizard, so definitely got to continue with that one. I'm good with taking Rodgers. I think if you want to lock up anybody else on your card, that makes a ton of sense. You mentioned it. If you're allowing Daniel Jones to go above 300 yards, how is Aaron Rodgers not going to hit this mark? I mean,
yeah.
I think Daniel Jones' average on the season is around 200. So if he's going to hit 300 against Minnesota, Rodgers should have no problem hitting this number.
Absolutely, absolutely agree. And our guy B here, shout out B. We appreciate you, man. Hopefully, we get some money going and flowing with some of these picks. We hope we have some winners for you here. And V, so we're highlighting that we like Rodgers. One that I was seeing is Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's another guy that one of us has highlighted almost every other week for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of cards here. I really trust Amon-Ra, especially with this defense. I know that pretty much the entire betting public was let down by Detroit's game this last week, but they're at home this week, and they
Yeah.
play way better at home. I'm really loving Amon-Ra St. Brown. So, what are you thinking? I mean, for anybody at home, feel free to take all four, but for us, let's narrow it down. Do you think that we should take Aaron Rodgers, or are you thinking that we should take Amon-Ra St. Brown?
I can really go either way. I think maybe we might lean towards Brown just because we got it at such a good number. The fact that it's already jumped up 6 yards and possibly even more, that's never a bad thing if you're going to get it at the best possible number. Also, this game has the highest total of the weekend at 52. Seems a bit high in my opinion, but that's where the market has set it at, and it makes sense that Detroit could probably put up a 30 piece on Chicago without much sweat. So a lot of opportunities, I think, in this game for Brown.
Absolutely agree. I think that I'm right there with you. Let's do that. We're going to go ahead and lock up Amon-Ra St. Brown as well. And for anybody that's in the Discord, we will definitely be putting all those picks into the thread so that you guys know exactly where we landed and so that you can have it right when you go back into the books so you can attack your bookie and take all of his lunch money. And that about does it for us, V.
Yeah,
I think that was a good one. I think, even
yeah, I
though
think that's a great card.
we usually have a 3 for, I like that we got to play off of it a little bit. It really was good. We're back the same time next week, so you're not going to want to miss it. That, I think, is going to be our last one. Novi, am I wrong?
Yeah,
I think
should be the
am.
last one for the
That should
season
be
for
the
over
last
underdogs.
Thursday night of the season, and that will be our last over underdogs, but it will not be our last show. We will continue to do Locked In all the way till the end. And that's locked in tomorrow, 8 p.m. Eastern. Don't be late. I will be taking attendance. And check out all of the IN betting team's work over at Important Nonsense. Like I said, V and I write the most insane piece, NFL versus. You don't see it anywhere else on the market. But, you don't always agree. Sometimes you got
Yeah,
to duke it out and battle it out and have the receipts to prove it. And we will go over those receipts tomorrow. I have some crow to eat, I'm sure.
Only got a couple weeks left, buddy, to make up the
I
ground.
know it's getting deep. It's I don't know how we're gonna do it. It's gonna be a barn burner, and you guys aren't gonna want to miss it. And anybody else who doesn't know what we're talking about, join our Patreon. That's how you get access to all of our picks, to the Discord, to all that stuff. All the links are down below. If the Patreon one's broken, I swear I'm going to send YouTube an angry letter. I fix it every single week. And last but certainly not least, shop.importantnonsense.com. That's how you get all of our cool merch and help support the guys. It doesn't just support us, it supports everybody. But you can use promo code LOCKED to support us too. So we appreciate you guys. V, do you have any parting words for the people at home?
No, join us tomorrow, and then everybody in the chat, make sure to wish Mason a very happy birthday today. Happy birthday, buddy. I'm sure you have a good one, and yeah, we'll catch up tomorrow.
V, thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate it. It is my birthday. I have a Five Guys hamburger waiting for me. I can't wait to dig into it. I can't
That's a
wait to
can
dig
opener,
into the
buddy.
Yeah, there we go. Can't wait to dig into the games tomorrow with you, my friend. And yeah, that does it. And for everybody else, good night and good luck.